Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby and Carl. And today we have great guest, one of the great podcaster. Let me welcome Mr. Orin Smith. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, thank you for coming to our podcast, and it's been an honor. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and my audience.
Yeah, so relatively new to the podcast world. Um, but so I host a show called Managing Manhood. And basically the point of it is to pretty much to talk to other men and kind of get helps and pointers of how to basically manage manhood. Um, and other than that, when I'm not podcasting, I work at an elementary school as a teacher's aide. I've been married for about 10 years now. I have a daughter who's 4. Um, so that pretty much sums up my life currently. So,
Very nice, very nice. Now, tell me a little bit about managing manhood. So,
yeah,
what does that mean?
yeah. So basically, it kind of came up with an idea for basically how do I manage my own manhood, right? You
Mhm.
go on the social media, you go onto YouTube, you look up, and there's a lot of voices out there. There's a lot of people, a lot of guys who talk about like, if you want to be a real man, this is what you have to do. And if you want to make lots of money, this is what you have to do.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of good information out there, but there's
Mhm.
also a lot of like contradictory information as well. And it gets to the point of like, with the algorithm, YouTube algorithm,
Mhm.
that it'll keep like feeding you this stuff. And it just gets to the point of like, okay, so like what does this mean? Like how do I use this and apply this in my own life?
Mhm.
And a few years back I've actually gotten a degree in radio television broadcasting,
Mhm.
and I wasn't doing anything with it. So I decided, why don't I like do a podcast? And as I was thinking about that, the idea of managing manhood popped up into my mind, and I just kind of went for it. And really, the premise is that I talk to all kinds of different guys, and everyone has a story that they have to share and lessons that they can teach other people
Mhm.
living their own life.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what real men aren't
Mhm.
really the ones that are
Mhm.
on social media. I mean, they can do that and they can make money doing that way, but there's like a lot of other voices out there too.
Mhm.
And really, I just talk to them and I, share that information. And if someone else is listening to it and find it helpful, then that's great. So
Mhm. So what you're saying is that you found it very interesting that everybody has a different perspective on manhood, and that is like it's exciting to know for everybody's perspective, right?
yeah, and like I feel like there's not enough representation for guys in general. Like you hear a lot about like toxic masculinity, right? Like what does that mean? There's a lot of support and things like that for women out there, and guys generally don't really talk about their feelings. They don't really talk about hardships they have in life.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to be kind of like not so much like I do not come in and say I know everything, right? Because I don't.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
why I'm doing this podcast, is because I come to it in a place of learning. And I also come to it in a place of I want to be able to create a space
Mhm.
where I can build a community of guys really talking about that kinds of stuff and talking about the hardships and talk about the things that they're learning. And yeah, and just like build this community that's positive, right? Positive masculinity, not toxic in a way of
Oh,
saying
very
that
nice.
way. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very interesting discussion because I think with time things are getting more clear. So with time, I think there was a time before where men were mostly defined by one stereotype, and that's
Sure.
what I think created toxic and whatever masculinity you say.
Right. Yeah.
Or now we are getting into shades of a manhood, right? There are different shades,
Yeah.
and then it is exciting that first of all, nobody thought there are more than one. All right.
Mm.
And like you said, there are more than just to know more than your stereotype or whatever. And so I think it'd be interesting to see and hear from you. So tell me a little bit more about some of the exciting comments or some of your podcast fellows shared with you some of thoughts on this subject here.
Sure. So I think what it comes down to is that, everyone, like, we kind of sum manhood into like one thing, right? But it's really just about like the human experience, the human story, because like my version of manhood could be very different than your version.
Mhm,
And so, like, and even the experiences, like my very first podcast, I talked to my good friend who recently had lost his wife to cancer.
mhm,
And he was really kind of talking about what it was like to be able to like mourn his wife and to kind of move on. And then when I first recorded that a couple years before, or like a couple summers before I uploaded it, and then I recently talked to him again and
mhm,
talked to him again about like what it was like, because he remarried, and
mhm,
talked about what it was like to, being remarried, and the difference between like, you know finding love again, and totally different circumstances than getting a divorce, right? Like you hate the other person, quote unquote, whatever reason why you would get divorced, but he didn't. He was still basically in love with his first wife, who died, and was like, how do you deal with that? And other things that I've learned, like we talked about, someone who had found really, really big success in like intermittent fasting.
mhm.
And again, weight loss is something that is on my mind constantly now, because I have started another podcast called Orin Learns Everything. And on that one, I'm talking to a personal trainer who's trying to help me lose, 80 pounds. So that's kind of like, how do I manage my life by losing weight? I've talked to other people. This one really cool guest who was it's not a professor. He's kind of a teacher. He talks about how to get stress and anger out of your life, and he's done a TED talk. And he goes around schools and he talks about like how what anger and what stress does to your body, and how to get it out of your life, and the importance of doing that. I've talked to goodness. I've talked to someone who is into what's the word I'm looking for? Hypnosis, but not
Mhm,
like stage hypnosis. Like you go to him like he's a doctor, but not a doctor, and he hypnotizes you, and he talks to your subconscious somehow and helps deal with trauma and other things like that. And learning like how that could be a useful tool for you.
mhm.
So like all kinds of different stuff. Like um, yeah, and I've recorded so many things that I have yet to upload, that I'm excited to like revisit, because I've honestly forgot all of the people that I've talked to. Um, so yeah, it's been really good. I'm only at like, I think maybe 10 episodes as of right now, and I have a whole bunch that are like being worked on and edited by my friend. Um, so yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Oh, very nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it, the journey.
Yeah.
So, also since you brought a little bit touch on lifestyle, yes, I would love to share that too, that I lost 100 pounds naturally. Okay.
Wow.
So over 1 year and, with changing my lifestyle and 5 years ago.
That's
So
amazing.
and I can certainly help you and your audience to learn more about it, which I love to teach all the time. So I practice medicine, but I also teach a lot of lifestyle because I'm so passionate about it.
Hmm.
And then I think a very interesting comment you had about is that, now men are more focused on losing weight or at least getting more into fitness. That there was a time where they would just say this is a family pack, and then that's the end of your you know discussion. But now I think the trends are changing, which is good. I'm very happy about that because I always felt that men should be more leaner, and because thing is, men need they operate out of testosterone more,
Mm.
and then the fat unfortunately produces more estrogen. Okay, so really you don't need estrogen. You know, if you want, by all means have it. But if you keep your body composition more leaner, then you have probably more testosterone than estrogen. So, so that probably is better for you than taking supplements, you know, because you can use your natural.
Mm.
So that's my take on that. Women, on the other hand, can have more of a little bit fat because they need estrogen and they need hormones more than us.
Mm.
So it's interesting that the concept should be a little bit reversed. Yeah, just a thought. Yeah, people can differ on that.
Yeah.
Uh, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, there's also kind of like this trend because of people being on social media more. And I think a lot more eyes are on more people. And
Hmm.
I think there's this aspect of like, I need to look a certain way. So, like, a lot of people are like looking for like being aesthetically pleasing. Like, because those are the things like there was this thing on TikTok, and it said that the people who are more like attractive, who are more appealing to the eye, are the ones that are getting more views, or the ones that are getting more pushed, right? So I feel like still this group of people who are trying to like look a certain way for that reasons. I mean, sure, I would love to look like, I don't want to be like a bodybuilder or anything. I mean, I want to live healthy. I have history of diabetes in my family. I have histories of certain cancers, and there's like all of these other things that are like totally like preventable.
Mm,
And I feel like by making these changes in my life, like I'm just trying to be more healthy, right? Like all of that like aesthetically pleasing stuff is all secondary, but it's really like a wanting to
mm,
control what I can control. And one of the biggest things you can control, right, is like what you're eating, like how much exercise you're doing. And I would like to, stick around for as long as I can. Like if I get like, if I happen to like get in a car crash or die or something like that, then that happens. But if I end up getting sick and dying from something that could be totally preventable, then that's on me. Like, that's my fault. And I want to try to avoid that.
beautiful, beautiful. I love that because, it's very interesting that what you said. It is, you do get, of course, you will look great no matter what, but yes, but I think the improvement should be only based for your health. So I did it exactly for health reason, nothing
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
I became diabetic. So, like you were talking about. So, there are only two options: either change your lifestyle and get rid of your diabetes, or take medication rest of your life.
Right.
That's about it. So then I chose the other way to cure it, lose weight, and fix my cholesterol, blood pressure, and everything, and be healthier rest of my life. And I'm thankful because I'm not no longer on medication. But same thing what you said. You want to enjoy life. You want to enjoy the best time. This is the best. And sad thing is you work hard for so many years to reach here. And
Mhm.
once you reach here, you are sick. And and then once you try to retire, you have 12 medications. And
Yeah.
that's not the way to retire.
Right. And I honestly like I know people who have retired and who have died like within a year to 2 years after they retired, right?
Yeah.
Because of like for whatever reason, it could be like, the way they took care of their body. It could be the lack of like, some people say that, especially when you get up and older in age, it's really important for you to have those social connections, to have those those like to do stuff, to have a reason to wake up in the morning. And like some people who retire, like they put all of their energy and life into their job, and now the job's done. What else do they have, right? So like that could affect some people. Like, I'm not a scientist or anything like that. I'm not a brain doctor. Like, I can't say that for fact, but yeah, it makes you think, maybe that could be one of the factors for that. But yeah, and I've also noticed with like you talk about lifestyle and weight loss, like some reasons why we are the way we are, being overweight, and it's a lot lifestyle. Like losing weight is more than just like counting calories and
Mhm.
exercising more. It's changing your lifestyle, it's changing who you are, it's changing your habits.
Mm.
Like it's changing like, somebody who's gonna like watch TV all day to like go out for a walk. What do you do? Go out for a walk. You listen to a podcast. You listen to a book on tape. You're learning. You are changing
Mm.
a lot more than just weight loss. You're like changing your mindset. You're changing how you live. You're changing why you live. Basically, I feel like there's a lot of reasons that someone becomes overweight, and it's not just because they eat too much food. Like there's other things that happen to you. There's
Mm. Yeah.
stresses in your life. There could be trauma in your life. There could be whatever reason, and you got to fix that too, or else you're not gonna lose the weight, right?
A-
Because
a- Absolutely correct, and I think you're right. I think I can give example is like those old tracks we used to have. The track will keep playing same song. If you keep on the same track, which is you keep on doing same thing every day, and then you expect a different voice or different song, that's not going to happen.
yeah,
So you really have to change your tracks, thinking, the way we do things, the way we enjoy life, the way, let's say, when we have family get together. And yes, we have to eat together. I love it. But you can eat healthier together too, and you can do exercise together too, and
mhm,
you can go walk together too, and you can have fun activity, healthier activities together. You don't have to sit on couch and watch movie with popcorn, right?
right,
So I think that's where I find it a little troubling. So I think you're absolutely right. All we have to do is just look at what we are doing and then change that landscape, change that mindset. That's all, just a little bit. That's all you need. And then you are back to your normal. Good thing
yeah,
is you can do it anytime.
yeah. And the last thing I have to say about is also like if you look at the foods that you're eating, and like culturally, like we, and here in the United States, I feel like it could be everywhere, but like we are a culture of eating food, right? Like everything we do is evolved around food. Everything like you talk about family reunions, like we gather to do what? Eat food. We go out and celebrate by doing what? We eat food. We have cakes. We have all of this stuff, and like the processed food that we're eating is made to be addictive, right? So
Yeah.
like I feel like also in a way you're kind of like losing your agency in a way, because you're giving in to like these things that are super addictive, and they're programmed to make your body crave this stuff. Like it's talking to your like the lower parts of your brain that are built for survival, right? It wants shelter, it wants food, it wants to procreate,
Mm,
and like it's tapping into those things
mm.
that are then making us into not robots, but into like slaves of food, right? And it's like we don't really need to eat as much as we are. It turns out, and it finds out that if you're not spending your whole time eating or looking for food or thinking about food, you have a lot of time to do other stuff,
Mm,
like other hobbies you want to do. And this is part of that lifestyle change, right? A lot
mm.
of hobbies you want to do, a lot of like things I wish I did that I have never done. Like, why aren't you doing them? Like, go and do it. Like, you got no reason not to.
Yeah, yeah,
If you don't
yeah,
know how to do it,
yeah.
Google search, talk to somebody who's already done it. So like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it what you're saying. I think there's nothing wrong with the culture. I love American culture. I mean, I come from Asian culture, from Pakistan, and we have also same. All my culturally, we have any guest come, anybody comes, you give food, you eat till
Mm,
you say no. So everything, crying, laughing, everything has to be food.
mm,
And that's, I think, problem is okay if the food was healthier. Problem happened, they added chemicals to that food,
mhm,
and I think they ruined the main theme of that thing. So I don't think there is a, I give you example. I went to Europe and on a vacation, and I was eating their cake every day. Okay,
mm.
but I lost 10 pounds at the end of vacation. In US, if you eat the cake every day, you will for sure gain weight. Okay,
Yeah,
so I think there has a lot to do what they put in it too.
yeah,
So I think same stands for other foods. They put fructose, they put 10 other additives in it, and I understand they want to feed the massive population, but that's a great thing. But I don't think you have to uh, do so much damage to food by destroying everybody's health. So I think that there is a reason. So in Europe they have little different standards and things, and then people are a little more, I mean, they also enjoy eat, believe me, Italians and French and everybody's, we all Mediterranean, Asian, name it, everybody loves food, and there's nothing wrong with that, but have healthier choices. That's all. I think take the chemicals out of these fructose, corn syrup, destroying us, and then I think it should be banned by food industry. Yeah.
yeah. Like you mentioned that, but yeah, there's like stuff in American food that's like banned in Europe. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know, yeah, like they're not allowed to put that kind of stuff in their food out there. And also the portion sizes are a lot
yeah,
different from what I've
tremendous.
heard,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if you, you can go into it and it's really like, conspiracies, right? Conspiracy theorists.
Mm.
I'm not one for conspiracies, but like, yeah, it's all about putting money in other people's pockets, right? Because then you can talk about like banning food and stuff and like, but then you look at healthcare and then like how expensive healthcare is here. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's all a big circle. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are kind of hidden agendas for all. I mean, food
sure.
industry is attached to pharmaceutical industry to, of course, I'm doctor and I can tell you there is no reason I see that we should be the healthcare should be so expensive. I don't see a reason. Believe me, I don't see it. But the only reason I see is that yes, if we go to the other route, and if we have lesser from medications, people are more healthier, which I wish they are, then the pharmaceutical industry will go down absolutely because you don't need so many drugs. But then their profits margin and stocks and everything will go down too. But is that better? I think so, but I'm not the one running the stocks or not, or investing in stocks. So yes, those are sad, but that's true. Sad thing is you can tell about any drug. Look at the stock market before FDA or before all these get approved. Just look at the stock and you will know the next 6 months, 1 year, this drug is gonna be somehow the research will be manipulated, things will be advertisement will be there about that medicine. It looks like that medication is the lifesaver. But this is where the problem is. Problem is there are people behind for the money and not for anybody's health. So that's my take. I mean, I'm a doctor, I can tell you. So, but that's sad, very very sad, but that's true.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of it is like I find reactive versus like proactive, right?
Mm.
A lot of these medications and stuff is like a reaction of stuff, and it's kind of like not necessarily like a band-aid, but it's like something happens and then you take the medicine. And I think there needs to be more teaching on how to prevent something from happening in the first place.
Yeah,
And that comes to like, eating better.
yeah.
That comes to like exercising more. And it goes back to like, I want to be able to there's a lot of preventable stuff that I'm learning how to, eat better and lose weight and all that kind of stuff too. So
No, no, I love when people say that. It's very interesting that even in medicine, when you go to any doctor's office, they'll put you this, they will talk about preventive stuff, but they'll give you a handout and say, go and read it yourself, try to
yeah.
understand it. Well, nobody reads. Second is, it's very hard to understand. Third, sad thing is most of the medical providers never practice themselves either. So
Hmm.
you'll see that they themselves are overweight, their health is poor, and what they're going to teach others,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And
you have to practice then first and then preach. So that's my take on that. Is always
hmm,
just and it carries a lot of weight. If you practice and preach, then you can say no. I am doing it. You should do it.
hmm,
So right.
sure.
So all comes down to same. That's my take, and so, so there we can definitely talk. Keep talking on that. So any final thoughts, and then we'll end this conversation.
I don't know. Like, I just like final thoughts, like, and this could go for anyone and not necessarily about like managing manhood, but like in my podcast, a lot of the people have said, do your research. And we just pretty much talked about that just now. Like, you talk about like the preventative care, and then you go and you give pamphlets, and nobody reads it anyway. Like, there's this quote that I heard that I really, really liked, and it's that those who do not read are no better off than those who can't read. Right.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's kind of like, come on, like you've learned to read. And this goes to my, teaching elementary school kids.
Uh,
If you can learn to read, you can basically do anything you want. Anything in your life that you want to achieve, any goal you want to do, like you can do it by reading and seeking help. Like that's important too.
mm,
Um, ask for help. Someone has been where you are right now, and someone has figured out how to be where you want to be. Ask that person, and I'm sure they can help you in achieving your own goals. And that's kind of what my podcast is all about.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for doing that amazing work. And by the way, I'm a big fan of teachers because I think they can really teach a lot of things. It doesn't matter, but they have this unique ability to connect to people. And, by the way, we love even for when we have patient educators, we love if they are teacher because they really teach patients the stuff which we want them to learn. And I think maybe as a teacher, they should moonlight as a in the doctor's
yeah.
office. So I think it'll be great, serving humanity altogether. Thank you for your amazing work and keep it up.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Take care.